Greetings all, and welcome to this week's Superb Diamond Range, where our topic will be about distractions and technology. And also, we'd like to have a recap on our previous shows where we've had some brilliant guests, and we'd like to thank all of them for their time and efforts in sharing their valuable time with us. And we've learnt so much, and we've had a great time, and we look forward to having some more talks with our guests and also some new guests. Today's date is the 10th of March, and welcome, Superb.
Oh, thank you, Diamond, and it's great to have you back. How was your trip in the Far East?
It was a blast. It was really, really good. When I say a blast, I'm not talking about the blast from a plane or anything like that, or from a joint, but it was great. Just feel so alive, and I just wish everyone can do that, to be honest, and because it is a blessing as well to travel around and meet different people and learn and spread the love. And I do feel refreshed and glad to be back. And I'd just like to thank you, Superb, for the great work you've done while I've been away. You're amazing, man.
Cheers for that. Appreciate it. So today's show, we're going to be talking about technology and distractions. I guess we could start off by talking about our experiences with technology. I'll let you go first, Diamond.
Sure. Well, I would have to say, when you're talking about technology, I've grown up in an age not so technical as you have. So, your generation, I would say, are the computer age. So I could see the difference. Even I'm 44 years old, I can see the difference in myself and a lot of people who I see generally every day who just seem to be distracted, especially the internet and cell phones. And it is creeping in to, people my age because, it is meant to be another form of hypnosis and taking you away from, meeting people and socializing, sharing your points of view. So you're just getting stuck into the dead toy, really, what we kind of give it life, but there is no life there. There's a screen and it's like a TV. Back in the day, people used to have mobile phones, which would just be a phone, and you talk, hello, goodbye, but now you've got everything. So people are conducting business meetings or doing their doing everything on the phone whilst being on the way to work or in a toilet or CR room, as we say in some countries. And basically, it is a tracking device also. So you do not really have time for yourself. People like myself, I see myself as pretty private, as probably you do as well. And you do like minutes and time for yourself where you can gather your own thoughts instead of this thing going off, beep, 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 as a message. And it is, one thing I have done over the years, I observe people and, you notice mothers and children bringing their children to school, where in the morning, or should I say, early in the daytime when they're taking the siblings to school or whoever, that is a bonding time also, I find. And that's a time where the mother should be talking to their children on the way to school. Because, it is good to see people walking to school. But now you're seeing people just driving to school, and you find out that a lot of the people going to school, literally, it's a 5-minute drive or a 2-minute drive, and of course they live in fear, thinking, oh, well, there's so many knife attacks, so many muggings. So yeah, they all any excuse to jump in the car and get their asses so fat. So that's another thing that kills young people as well. The lack of exercise. Jumping in the car. As when we went to school, I'm sure you did, Superb. You had a nice walk in the morning, and early days we would walk with our mother, and we'd be talking on the way. But now you see the mother is talking not to the children, but on her phone to someone, and that you see them they're nearly getting knocked over on the road because they're just not thinking straight. Their focus of attention is more with who they're talking to, giving a live commentary of what they're doing, which is,
Definitely.
they're taking away bonding time with the children. And for me, that shows they're not interested. Life is just, for them, for most people, life is just a script, what they're supposed to do. There's no input coming from the parents. Everything is from the state and the school. And you're there just to be like a mentor.
Well, in my time, sort of growing up, like you said, it was definitely more of an information age now. But at the same time, when I was at school, like compared to now, they had computers like an IT lesson, but most of the time, we were still using paper and, um, now it's all changed. Now everything's probably on computers, and probably now you don't have paper, you have like a pen drive with all your data on. But definitely you can see that the technology follows you now everywhere, whereas before you might like have the computer at home, but now it's like you've got the internet on your phone, you've got laptops, mobile devices, and not only are you on the internet at home, but you're on the internet when you're outside, and you see couples in restaurants, not even interested in making eye contact with each other, just on their phones, doing Facebook and social networking. And it's just really sad that people have forgotten what it's like to connect with each other.
It is sad, Superb. Absolutely. That, for me, that actually, it makes me a little bit disappointed and angry too to see, especially if you're out with people and then you look around and you see them on the phone, and I take that as a bit of a snub, but they just cannot. A lot of people cannot see how immature they're being, and how caught up in that web they are. They've always got to be holding that phone.
Because another thing you mentioned earlier about privacy was, you get the young people now, they're on the public transport and they'll be on their phone and they'll be speaking really loud so everyone can hear their conversation. And they don't seem to care about it, like everyone listening in to where they're going or who they're seeing. And most of the time, the person they're talking to would be somebody they're meeting. So in other words, they're spending 3 hours talking to them on their way to meet them. So by the time they get there,
Exactly.
they've probably run out of things to say.
Exactly. Well said. So, what they would normally do when they meet them, they phone someone else while they're with the arranged sort of meeting date.
Exactly.
They've all, as the old BT commercial used to say, it's good to talk, but I don't think that would really catch on as they said. But that's what hypnosis is all about.
Definitely. Another thing I want to touch on is like the addiction to technology. One example could be like getting into the web. So, you get into the habit of checking your emails, checking Facebook, you know, anything really that you're interested in, but just being obsessed with it. And like most people now are at the point where they're like drug addicts to technology, and they can't get enough of like the new technologies that keep coming out, which obviously cost a lot and support the evil system. But what are your opinions on that, Dome?
Yeah, I kind of think quite agree with that too. There is a web there. It is a web that takes you in, and like an addiction, you cannot get out of it. Well, you can get out of it, but you need to realize that you're in a trap, because being stuck at home on the internet or on Facebook by yourself, or by yourself mostly, I would imagine, isn't healthy. So that could be time. That could be time, sort of, with you bonding with someone,
Definitely.
making a new friend, sharing ideas. I mean, I think the web is good for learning things. Do not get me wrong there. I think it's great to go online and learn a few tricks, learn some lyrics, get some knowledge about different cultures, learn about natural medicine. But for me, you find people getting stuck in the same routine of the music, what's in, and the games also. They play their games, which, one thing for me, I have to admit, I've never in my life been into it.
Definitely.
Touch wood that,
Because
I never got that craving to.
I remember
For,
growing up, I used to enjoy playing video games with my friends, and that
yes,
was something we'd done together. But now I notice that um, many of our listeners might be upset by what I'm saying, but there's a point where you stop playing the games and you start to play the real game of life. But it seems that there's people that are getting older and older, and they spend so much time on these games.
that's
And
true.
it's not just young people now. They're making games for adults, and
Well
that are
said.
violent and stuff, and they still playing them. And again, they've got relationships, but the relationship is like secondary to the game. So they'll spend
Yeah,
all night playing it.
yeah, because it's like superb. It's like they've kind of tapped into the needs of everyone. So back in the day, before this was out really big, it was, a few drugs, like maybe weed, which they call a drug in the system, and alcohol or smoking. So we've got a few people hooked, but now they're sort of target a lot of people now. Let's see what we can do with Miss Jones over there. What can we get them into? They do not like going outside, and they're a bit overweight, so they brought out games for them, which are exercise games, so you can do your workouts at home.
That's
So you
right.
put your console in, and on your TV, there's your personal trainer or something,
Brilliant. Yeah, that's a very
and
good point.
and so you're dancing by yourself, or instead of socializing again, in a little group, or I've seen one where people are playing golf, so you're doing the actual movements yourself as if you're playing golf, and you're thinking, it probably is fun maybe, but to have that in your home and you're playing that all the time, you'd rather. And then that is supposed to be, they do sort of tell you that that's the equivalent of playing the real thing.
That's right. Yeah.
But no way, because
Doesn't
for
come
sure,
close. Yeah.
exactly, it's like saying if a flight simulator is the same as flying a plane. The
Exactly.
real once you get in the real plane, I'm sure you're thinking, "Oh man, I'm up in the air."
That's a good point you made. Like
You're
it's
so
like
calm in a simulator, aren't you? If you crash, you're going to be alive.
definitely. It's a good point you made regarding like the exercise that they bring to your home in a form of technology, and it's like another reason not to go outside. You can do your exercise at home, and you know they're keeping you in one place. Basically, they're keeping you at your home. So you've
More or
got all
less.
your entertainment, you've got your TV, you've got your exercise. So
More or
you won't
less.
go out and meet people or get into groups. You know.
Exactly. You got the online shopping.
Oh my days.
You got
Yeah,
online shopping where people can't even be bothered now to get out of their fat asses. Sorry, no offense to anyone. To go out and take a walk around. I know one thing, what is good is you'll find things will be cheaper online. So it's down to the shops to stop being greedy and lower their prices.
definitely, definitely. That's one of the
So
problems. Is like,
yes,
obviously online, you can find things as well that sometimes you can't find in the shop. So on that point, it is really good.
yeah,
But
I agree with that,
yeah,
and yeah, you can practically find anything you want online. So I'll give the online shopping a more of a thumbs up. But
definitely.
there's some places, probably even the same way where you've gone on your travels, Superb, where you'd find young people just who enjoy sort of window shopping.
Definitely.
They may not have the money to buy things, but they just like to go to like shopping malls
Definitely.
and catch the vibe. Good place to hang out. And you'll find, walking in the UK, I can't believe how quiet they are now. People are just like zombies, sorry to say. You walk around, and especially in the afternoon, you look at five people, and you'll see three of them playing with their phone. You go
Unreal.
on a, you'll jump on a bus, same thing. You go on a tube, same thing. And it is like one of those kind of zombie movies where are they going to get me? They're after me, but I'm not going to fall in the trap.
Because I mean, we've got a friend that doesn't have a mobile phone at the moment, and that is amazing. Because in this day and age, there's not too many people without one.
That's true. And the sad thing is, um, they what they try to do now is they blackmail us or blackmail everyone. So if you're not working, for example, they will try their best to make sure that you do have a mobile phone so they can contact you anywhere.
That's right.
Because they're telling us that we live in a time where it's all about money right now and you got to move fast, but it's not really. We're moving at their pace.
Definitely.
That's why it seems that time is going quicker because we're running around like headless chickens going nowhere.
Because obviously, like the mobile phone as well, it's something that follows you all day long. And you've got people that work, and they could be finished work, but the phone keeps ringing. So in other
Ex-
words, when they should be resting, their boss is calling them, telling them that you need to
exactly,
finish this, or they have to
exactly.
reply to an email. And it's like being 24 hours working.
Of course,
You can't switch off, and you probably don't even sleep because you're just worried about an email that's coming that you have to deal with.
yeah,
So I feel for the people that have got into that because and this thing about working from home, like where people log into their office computer, and it's good to be at home, but you should never really bring your work home.
that's true. That's true.
It's really
That's
shocking,
true.
but yeah, that's the route they're going down.
I mean, it was back in the day when you heard someone is working from home, you thought that's a good idea. But you're saving money and you might have a bit more time with your family. But then, like you said, you're bringing work home, and you can't even change yourself, with the pressures of work because it's still the same work, isn't it?
Definitely.
And a lot of people do perform better when they're away from home. You might be too relaxed working at home. For example, just imagine you have your gym at home, or you have a gym where you have to go outside and sort of train with other people. You might push yourself more when you're outside.
Definitely.
I'm not saying you cannot push yourself by yourself, because to be dedicated and hungry, you gotta motivate yourself. You shouldn't rely on anyone else to do that for you. It's
One of the things I wanted to talk about was obviously cars, because that's a big thing in technology. And you've obviously got cars now that, you know, rely a lot on electrics and computers. and ultimately, like when they break down, you can be really stuffed, and to the
That's
point
true.
where they're not very free, in terms of, they could just push a button and turn your car off, whereas the old-fashioned cars, um, you know, are a lot better in terms of being able to rely on them, and they're simpler.
That's true because the new cars have trackers too.
That's right. Yeah. If you get
So
insurance now, they always force you to fit a tracker in them. They try to
exactly,
say it's to lower your insurance premium, but ultimately it's just to track you. So wherever you
to
go, they
track
know where
you.
you are.
Exactly. So they say that most, that a lot of people on average do not get their car stolen. So you're right. It is to track you.
Definitely. Whenever the police are looking for you or whatever, once they got the chip and the tracker, they just,
Exactly.
do anything. They could find you. Same as the mobile phone, and like we said earlier, another tracking device. The internet with your IP address, another tracking device.
Big time. Big time.
And another piece of advice somebody gave me not so long ago was in regards to the multi-function devices. Back in the day, it would have probably been like a TV and a VCR all in one. But now you've got mobile phones that do MP3, do photos, camera, and I advise the listeners to try and get um, equipment that's not multi-function but just meant for one thing. So in other words, an MP3 for MP3 playing, a camera for photos, and a phone as a phone, not a smartphone.
Exactly.
Um,
That is a great advice, Superb, because that is what I do as well. I'm
Brilliant.
out on my adventures. I'm taking pictures with a camera, and it's probably old-fashioned to young people now. They just got their functional camera with a phone with internet. So it's always it's always being used. So I just prefer to give the phone a rest and get my camera out. At least with your camera, you can make a video and also take pictures, and that's it.
Brilliant. That is definitely a lot better. And also, like a lot of these multi-function devices, when one thing breaks down, it's useless. So you need to go out and buy a new one. And like these multi-function printers, you've got one thing breaks on it, and the whole thing's like useless. And I think if you get something that works on one thing, it's going to be a specialist in it. It's going to be a lot more reliable and have better longevity. Um,
That's true. That's
Another
true.
another thing regarding technology that I wanted to bring up, similar to fashion, is obviously there's people out there that follow fashion and trying to always keep up with it, and technology is pretty similar because you got the latest model, the latest and greatest computer or phone, and most people are so loyal to brands like Apple, one example. They would always buy the latest one just to be cool.
That's
Um,
true. That's true.
and it's just crazy. Like you got people queuing outside the Apple store, and they say there's apparently a recession going on, but yet people can afford to buy the Apple phone when it comes
Yeah,
out and
that's
queue up
true.
for it.
That's true.
It's
That's
pretty
true.
sad, you know.
What also I find is sad as well is the operating system Windows. How how they have fooled most people into making you believe or making us believe that Windows is the only application you can have, and they've made people rely on it to sort of work on the internet, not realizing that we're not doing any advertising here, by the way, but there's Linux and Ubuntu absolutely smash Windows.
Definitely.
There's there's no viruses. There's no disks that you need to keep on putting inside to get programs. Easy installation, the way it should be.
Brilliant.
So So my sort of comparison is Linux is like the man who wants to be free, and Windows is like the man who depends on the system of, so the disks being like the classes or the stages what you go through. Like you got a disk for medicine, a disk for school, a disk for cleaning up, the antivirus. So he depends on outside disks to come inside, whereas Linux, none of that at all.
Because another thing on operating systems that you've just made me think of is the newer operating systems that are coming out are less and less free. One example is Mavericks by Apple, whereby if you download open source programs, it won't recognize them or it won't let you install them on the system. Whereas previous editions, like operating systems earlier, you were able to get those programs, and it's just showing you how it's becoming less and less free, these newer operating systems. So I always recommend to people to use the old ones or use Linux, like you said, Diamond,
Definitely.
because it's just shocking that you can't do things on them, and I think that's how they want it. They.
I mean, even if young people learns about Linux whilst at school, I think Windows would be finished overnight.
Definitely.
I mean, that is one thing that sort of surprises me is why is how Windows is going on so big still, and you're guaranteed if you use Windows, like a man in a system or woman in a system, over time gets slower and slower, gets sick. So you need to update the antivirus, and it's a bit like a human being who's relying on the doctors. And Linux is a program where you rely on yourself and you put your faith that nothing goes wrong, and absolutely nothing does go wrong with Linux. You need to be more sort of savvy. You need to sort of learn a bit more,
Definitely.
which in the long run is beneficial for you.
Definitely. Much more rewarding than, everything
Definitely,
being easy. Yeah.
definitely. If you can learn something instead of putting a disk in where that does everything for you,
That's
but
right.
you learn, you learn some commands yourself of how to do a few tricks
Because
on.
somebody described it to me like if you look at really simple Lego, that's what you could class like Windows and Mac as. And you got Meccano, where you could build like helicopters and dinosaurs and things like that, would be like more on the Linux level. Where you've got to put
Exactly.
a bit more effort and thought into it, and it's a bit more technical, but in the long run, it is much better.
Yeah, that's why I sort of compare it with Windows being the man in the system and Linux being the man who's free,
Definitely.
who who's given up everything from the system, but his rewards will be much better in the end, miles better.
Because we know that obviously technology can be good and it can be bad. Obviously, one of the really bad things about technology is that there's a lot of spying devices now within technology, from obviously the phone to the TV recording you, like a camera,
Yeah, true.
and computers doing that as well. So in other words, they can see us all the time and they can hear our conversations. And I've even heard of people taking the battery out of their phone just to ensure that the phone's not recording them, or just getting a really old phone that basically doesn't have that technology in it, hopefully.
Well, that's the
Um,
thing. That's the thing. The old technology is, in my humble opinion, much better,
Definitely. It's
and
less
it's
corrupted, kind of.
less corrupted and reliable too.
Definitely. Yeah,
Just
because
like the
new
cars.
technology keeps breaking down. I see what you're saying. So you have
Yeah,
to
just
keep
like
buying a new one.
exactly.
Yeah, because I'm
Exactly.
a big fan of like well-made, good quality like technology, but obviously it's got to last and it's got to stand at least some test of time. But when you're getting something that lasts you 6 months or a year. And somebody once told me about the Nokia phones, like that they only are supposed to last for like a year or before they stop working properly, and you're forced to get a new one. Sorry
No,
to
it's okay.
say anything
It's
about.
I
Yeah,
mean, we're all about exposing the truth and lies. So
definitely.
we this Nokia hasn't really done us any favors or anyone else. Or,
Exactly. You mentioned about Windows being really big and being like successful despite not really deserving it, but then you could compare it to like McDonald's or Burger King or Pizza Hut. They don't really make great food, but they still are big, in terms of
yeah,
making money and so on. In the
is it because the food tastes so nice? I mean, they could put some good sauce on that. What comes between your backside, and you could put that in a burger. Here's our new shit burger, and that would be the best seller.
Definitely. Yeah, it shows you that like a lot of these big corporations, their customers have been fooled. Like that's why they're still around. Otherwise, they'd all be gone. Like
Yeah,
small businesses, which are usually much better. They always get run out of down to the ground. But
that's true.
you got mark of the beast supermarkets like Tesco, Sainsbury's. They'll always be there because they can you know they're just always there basically.
That's
People
true.
keep
That's
keep
true.
buying from them, and
Well, these sort of shops like Tesco's, McDonald's, um, Sainsbury's, they would be the equivalent of the BBC in TV,
definitely.
or the Red Cross even. The reliable sort of shops which are really poison and out to kill you.
Another movie that I want to mention in regards to technology, um, you might have seen it, Diamond. That Enemy of the State. It's like a movie from the 90s, but it shows you like the kind of technology they had
Yes.
like in the 90s, but obviously it's probably from a lot earlier. But that movie kind of shows you like, if they had that then, what do they have now, or what have they always had?
Well,
And I recommend it to people to watch just to, see.
is that the film with William Smith?
That's the one. You got it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, it's another thing like in regards to Facebook, obviously, a lot of people say it's connected with CIA, and I think there's a good possibility of that. But people don't seem to care about that, and they still sort of talk all about their lives and what they're doing, and
That's true.
every minute of their life they want to update you on it, and they don't realise that they're just building a profile on you, so they know exactly what you're doing, when you're doing it, and in other words, you're giving up your privacy, which is very important.
I think one thing when we are growing up, they kind of teach you that they make you believe that do not talk about yourself because that is being vain and big-headed. But in reality, I think most people's best subject is themselves because we are unique, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're not being big-headed and putting someone else down. But
Sure.
people do should enjoy their lives, so they would, in the most part, enjoy talking about it. Because why? Because it's sad to me when I see people just talking about other people.
That's true.
Oh, I went to this movie and I saw this actor and they're so great. Becoming
Yeah,
the idol worship syndrome. And
definitely.
but it is sad also when, like you said, Superb, when you've seen people write things down about themselves and everyone can see.
Especially if it's kind of ego. as well. It's
Yeah, of
like,
course.
oh, look at me, today I bought this from this designer, or look at me, my birthday in the, I don't know, the Hilton Hotel in the middle of nowhere.
Well,
You
that's
know,
when people have got nothing to say. So if you people have got nothing to say, or anyone has nothing to say, as I always say nothing.
definitely.
But they just come out with a stupid comment, and a lot of people now they're not in, they do not even care about sounding like a jackass.
I mean,
Oh, I woke up this morning and the weather was bad, and I'm so depressed. You know, it's best just to leave it blank. Seriously.
you got it. Um, Other thing that I noticed about the internet is obviously even for us, like you mentioned earlier about finding out information and knowledge that you wouldn't find through the TV or at your local church, say for example, because they would never tell you.
Of
But
course.
it's a brilliant way to kind of research, find information, meet like-minded people, and I think on that perspective, it is very good because you got countries where, like Venezuela, one example, where the government has basically closed down all the kind of anti-government channels and anti-government news, and the only way that people can get information is through the internet and from
Yes,
each other, people that are living there. Whereas again, if you didn't have the internet, it's almost like you'd have no way to connect with what's really going on, in your country. And same goes for any country out there. You can find
that's
out
true.
what's really happening through the
That's
internet,
true.
but on the TV, you're never gonna, the corporate-owned TV will never tell you.
No, of course not. Of course not. I mean, I think the TV's been around long enough to kind of hypnotize most families and to brainwash most families into making most households believe that is the main source of the truth.
Definitely,
So when it comes to doing your own research, um, i.e., independent sort of journalists, they just see them as wacko people. You know, truth seekers. Yeah, it could be for anything, even for medicine. Someone has found a discovery for AIDS and or cancer, and they've proved it to be right. They don't want to know, even if it came. Let's say it came on a TV for 5 minutes, and it's not broadcasted, but it came on the national news, and unless it's repeated all the time, so people can find out information for themselves and practice it and put it into use. But you know, the stuff that's repeated all the time, that's all they're interested in. So the news, which are mostly lies, and pop music, which I think most of us know about the subliminal messages in songs now.
definitely.
So yeah, superb. It is hard work, but most people need to sort of be willing and be brave enough to knock on doors, break doors down,
Definitely.
and seek the truth.
I mean, for the people that do use too much technology and spend too much time on the web, like unnecessary time, like not productive time, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
I always recommend, and I'm pretty sure you do this, Diamond, because remember you telling me where you have one day a week where you completely unplug, where you don't have any phone on or any internet. And I think that that's what we've all got to do is really just sort of, have one day a week where we just go and do something normal, like go for a walk or read a book or meet up with some friends and family.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because then again, it's like how we connected when we were growing up, being young,
Definitely.
and growing up was a fun time of our life. There was no internet,
Because
no phones where you're walking around with, but
one of the things I respect you for is, when you went on your recent travels, it's like, you don't bring your laptop, you don't bring your phone, so, you completely unplug for the whole trip and you just, explore the country and meet new people. And, most people now when they go on holiday, the first thing they want to do is check their laptop, check their emails, maybe if they go to a hotel, turn on the TV and see the news
That's true. That's
about
true.
what's going on sort of back home in their country, even though they're in another country right now at this moment. And it's
So
good the way you switch off. It's
thank you. It's when you turn that TV on, you're putting yourself back in that prison again,
definitely,
in the dead world. Because when you're outside, you're alive, and then when you start putting these devices on, it's dead again. Because something else is coming into you. You're looking. It's like looking into a crystal ball, which is full of lies, in most cases.
because
Especially when you're watching the news, which is biased in most cases.
definitely, in the way that obviously technology as well can be quite dangerous in terms of like for our health and stuff, like radiation and different things that that you can get. But obviously, when you go through the airport, they've got those machines, those X-ray machines, which are really really radioactive and dangerous. And so they're trying to put people through this system where you don't really have a choice, but they're trying to kill you, kind of thing.
True.
And technology is a way to kind of kill you, but get let you kill yourself in a way because you're so
Yeah,
desperate for
true.
the technology and it looks so good, and you want to be popular for having it. And so it's like a bit like the food. It's like they want you to have it, and they're making you do it by your own consent, kind of thing. It's really evil the way that they've set it up. Instead of making things that are good for us, they sort of make things that we think are good but are actually bad for us.
That's true. That's true. I mean, one thing I've noticed, Superb, probably you've noticed as well. No disrespect to England or the West, but I cannot really say too much about maybe Australia, but I could talk about America and England. That's the food sucks, and
Definitely.
we were born here. When you go to other countries around the world, they call them third world or poor, but at least they make a good attempt to eat natural food every day.
And also, like, the food is
And
cheaper over there, the organic
yeah,
stuff, whereas over here it's in reverse. The organic stuff's
exactly.
expensive.
You seldom see people buying things in cans. And over here, everything's in a can, and you got practically everything or frozen.
That's right.
So it just goes to show that over here is a fast kind of moving country, so they rely on buying things and then whacking them straight in the fridge. Where you go to other places, it's a culture thing where you buy your food and spend a good few hours cooking.
Because another thing that I've thought about now that you mentioned food is like there's things like apples and raspberries and blueberries and things like that that grow really good in this on this land, and yet if you go to the supermarket to buy them, they'll charge you a fortune.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
those kind of berries that you see growing everywhere. The other day I saw them in a supermarket for £3, and it was only like 10 of them inside a package.
And I bet you they're all the same size, or
Exactly,
the same, the same shade of color as well. Where if you look at the real ones outside, they're all different shades and different sizes.
totally,
So all processed, which
definitely.
you think, you think if it's organic, you plant the seed, it grows cheap, and you process it. You got to put chemicals and mix it up, and it's cheaper. How does that work?
Because another famous like coffee place
Yeah.
that everyone will know begins with S. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
basically, they sell bananas now, and like
Really?
one banana is £1.
Wow.
£1 for one banana, but because they're this name and they're an S,
Yes.
Um, they basically think they can get away with it. But yeah, they charge £1 for a
Man,
banana.
that's a lot of bucks for a banana.
That's right. And that's why I don't go there. It was my friend that
Yeah,
told me about it. I got shocked. Yeah, £1 for a banana. But yet you could get a ton of them for like a pound kind of thing.
that's right. That's true.
Yeah, it's just crazy the way it's in reverse. Like, um, but yeah, it's just the way it's going kind of thing.
Yeah, they're kind of telling us that we're doing this, and there's nothing you can do about it unless you're brave enough to get off your skinny ass. And
Because they want us to be reliant on them for everything.
yes,
For the petrol, for the electric, for the water, and they're not really offering a very good product or a good service for what they give you, and they're trying to charge us a fortune. And it's the same with the technologies. They're so expensive, but are they really worth it? Or who makes up the prices for them? And
yeah,
I'll admit when I've seen a good product or if it's well made, but ultimately it seems like they like things to break, and they want you to buy a new one and upgrade all the time, and they make things go out of date really quickly, and obviously that makes you spend more,
that's true.
and it's just a racket, to be honest, the whole thing.
Well, their system is all about us living and worshipping mammon, money. So we throughout our life, they want us never to take our minds off money and living in fear that we cannot afford this, can't afford that.
That's right, that's
So
exactly it. But I think also is very important is that the people use it for good things, but if you're going to use it for bad, to me it's like anything, a gun by itself is not a bad thing, but if you use it to kill people, it's going to become bad. Um, so I feel that with technology, it can be a tool for good or a tool for bad,
yeah, true.
and
That's true.
the important thing is if we use it for good.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. So yeah, that's quite a good sort of breakdown on technology,
Definitely.
and it's like they want us to get to the state where we absolutely rely on everything. So when we do that, that means we've got to pay again. So for me to travel to another country, I've got to pay a lot of money. Sorry to say, and I do enjoy traveling, as yourself too, Superb. And
Definitely.
because it's our birthright to travel and to explore our home. And I would call the world my home as it is yours. I'm no alien to any country or land, should I say? Because countries are corporations, so maybe I am, because I don't see myself as a corporation. I like
Definitely.
to see myself as a child of God, of created equal to everyone, sovereign to my body. But they've created everything like passports for us to move around from one of our lands to another, just because it's divided by a sea, and there's people who look a little bit different. So yeah, they've got us in this big state of confusion, and also they've got us thinking like getting you proud of a flag as well. So
And they even put a chip in your passport now. So
yeah, of course,
there's a chip in everything, and
yeah.
eventually down the line they're going to try and put a chip in the people,
I mean,
the mark of the beast.
I really, really, really dislike and hate this process of going to airports and you know getting putting your belt off and taking your shoes off.
Oh, it's terrible.
and you're treated like you see it's like being in a production line with animals, and
Definitely.
no disrespect to animals, because animals do not deserve to be treated bad as well. But
I,
it's
I must say it's better to. I mean, if you go into Europe, for example, it's much better to either get the boat or the train compared to the plane. You know, especially if you drive on the boat, it's like you literally like going from sort of Albion to France. They don't even
true.
check your passport, but yet
Yeah,
on the way back, they bully you a lot and they ask you questions like this is like the UK border police. They would ask, "Are you in the armed forces?" and stuff like that. Just 20 questions basically, and pull you in to search you as well.
yeah, of course, of
Um,
course.
it's really terrible. And
I mean,
everyone thinks getting a passport is going to make things easy, but it seems that you get more questions.
true. I mean, just imagine if we had the ability to make our own technology, and let's say to as also very good swimmers. So we're not using their ports. We're avoiding their ports and going to other lands by our own means. So we're swimming, or we even make our own boat. For sure, we will get shot down. Or if we made a plane, even,
Brilliant.
because they're telling us that the waters even belong to them, and the air as well. So as far as they're concerned, the air we breathe, according to so-called countries, kings and queens, corporations, belongs to them. Airspace, waters. So there's one, not sure if when you went to America last, they said no one can go to the restroom when they're in American air.
Yes, right. Yeah.
But just the whole Chica thing, superb. When they say if you do not identify yourself, let's say you're on a boat, and you're minding your own business in your own boat, and let's say a boat comes up with some military men, and they're barking orders at you. Identify yourself, and you give them two fingers, as we would do, and they will tell you things like, "We have permission to shoot if you do not identify yourself."
That's right. Yeah.
Now we know how our great sort of leaders, or not leaders, but great examples, went through. If Christ was alive, you don't have to answer these people.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're. It's like It's like you walking on the road. Where are you going? You go for you go for a swim, and these assholes are behind you.
That's right.
It's like they are the viruses of the planet, but they can't. They will never see it.
This is why, like we mentioned earlier
Yeah,
about privacy, and you don't really have to tell them anything, but yet we think we do. Like,
yeah,
of course, there are examples where, like you mentioned, identify yourself or we'll shoot. Maybe then it's time to identify because otherwise you're going to be dead. But when you're in a situation where you don't have to answer and you have the right to remain silent, like they tell
of
you,
course.
you gotta use it because otherwise they're just gonna because they want you to testify and confess and
Yes.
give your consent to them so that they can bully you then and do what they have to do and they tell you that it's all off the record but they're just gonna make a call later on and tell them everything so they're paid actors basically they have to
For sure,
yeah
for sure. They've quite gladly and willingly put the uniform or a job above the human body and soul and spirit,
definitely
where it should be the other way around. The uniform should be there to help man, but they put it there as if the uniform, you got to respect the uniform. You got to, this job, you'll get this uniform, and
because in
you're,
their system as well you'll never be seen as the innocent man you'll always be the guilty one.
of
And
course,
there's none of this what they say innocent until proven guilty. They suspect you from the beginning, and because we're all sort of committing fraud of some kind in a lie within a lie. They're just telling us like you can't operate like that. It's crazy. It's
You
crazy.
can see why a lot of people kind of do sort of, or can have a breakdown. You know,
Definitely.
you got to be really mentally tough to sort of go through this system, and especially if you know what's going on.
I think it's harder when you know what's going on. It's
It
like,
is. It is.
yeah,
If
if you
you're
didn't know, yeah,
exactly like most people haven't got a clue what's going on, and oh, let's say obey the law. You think what law? The only law is like, as we learned from Passio, Mark Passio, the great interview, is natural law.
definitely.
But man's law is 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 all about commas and money.
That's right.
You're paying with your pocket, with your wallet, because unless we're talking, you've actually injured someone or caused any loss to anyone, which is quite simple.
And obviously, we've realised, especially talking to Arthur Christian and Fiona, in regards to when you fight the system, you're just giving it energy. You're just
Yeah,
bringing
of
it back
course.
to life, and that's what they want. They want you to put your life energy
Yeah,
into it,
that's true.
and um, ultimately, again, going back to being private is a way to stay away from the system. Try not to get involved, be peaceful non-compliance.
Yeah,
Try and have as little to do with it as possible, and then one day, hopefully, nothing to do with it. You know,
yeah. I mean, that is sort of quite, that would be great, but also nothing to do with the system. But we sort of want to keep in contact with people, because people need help, and people need, because the system will collapse, and a lot of people will suffer
definitely.
in a big way. Because the so-called leaders, governments, and kings and queens, and all of them, if they really, really wanted to, there could be abundance for everyone on the planet. But it's not in their interest, as we know, to be helping people.
That's right. That
You
is
know,
the thing.
causing banks to collapse where money doesn't even sort of exist, and also, you know, paying the Federal Reserve. You think, what's that about? But that's another story. Anyway, that's another topic. That's another day.
Definitely.
It's for these.
Any final thoughts on technology and distractions, Diamond?
Um, yeah, I would say superb is spend a lot of time getting to know yourself, gather your own thoughts, and know what you want, and stay away. Don't stay totally away, but keep your loved ones close, and meet friends, talk to neighbours, as I would do. Of different, talk to new people every day. You know, I know people are very standoffish, and it's like, especially in the UK or America, what are you talking? Who are you talking to? What are you looking at me for? And you don't be offended if that's the response you get. Don't take it personal, because it's just people's fear of you sort of acknowledging them. It's like the only time you're allowed to talk to someone as if, for example, you're working, so you got a uniform, or you might work in a shop. So someone comes in, you can say hello, but we're above uniforms. I can say hello to someone walking on the street. I don't need a uniform to say hi, even if they just look at me or just blank me. That will make me feel good, because
Brilliant.
you acknowledge another soul, and part of you will wake them up too. They will think about it. Just a hello will do, and these devices like mobile phones, as you said, take a day off and do things, and you'll realize that you'll feel much better in yourself.
Yeah, I
And
mean, for people that, they might misplace their mobile phone device and they, feel like their arm's been cut off because, they're withdrawing. But try to remember that, how were you before that?
yeah,
It's like the alcoholic. How were they before they had their first drink?
you're right, Superb, because it's exactly the same thing. It's a drug that has gripped the the nation now. It's that's why they call it the web, because it's a web you cannot get out of. And in a way, we could call alcohol and cigarettes a web too, because it's a web what people cannot get out of. Well, they
Definitely.
can, but a lot of people with the internet do not see the web because they just think, oh, it's good and blah blah blah. There's nothing wrong with it, and walk down the road like a zombie, clicking these buttons and then conk on the head.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's good for everything has its place, but you do not sort of put it up there.
Not at all. Not at
You
all.
don't put it up there. Just like the car as well. People when you want to talk about buying a flash car. Well, where is the car? Do you put the car inside your house and take the car to bed with you?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of men, sorry to say, but men that love their cars and put that above their family. They're not they would never let anyone else wash their car, but they would let someone else take their children away for hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so what a
Yeah.
crazy kind of sick society. Not world, because the world is good, but society.
Definitely.
I think society has nothing to do with nature or
Not at all. Not at all.
yeah. But
All right.
any final thoughts yourself, Superb?
Yeah. I mean, I just really echo everything that you've said. In regards to it, I just think we need to, go back to basics and remember the days before it, and just not let it consume us, and make sure that there's a balance. Um, I would even go as far as 70-30. 30 being technology, 70
Yeah.
being your life basically, and
Yes.
but get to the point one day where you could bring it up as high as 90 or 95 or even 99 or 100,
Yeah.
where you could sort of walk away from it, and that's important too, knowing that you can walk away, because otherwise you're going to be a slave to it, which is
Yeah.
not a good thing.
I totally
Um,
agree, because I do believe they've got these gadgets out there for a reason. They're showing us what we are actually capable of. But
Definitely.
that's another talk for another show as well.
Definitely, but we will
So,
cover that for sure. All right, I'll just give out some contact details. Obviously, you can follow us at Twitter. Our name is Superb Diamond Ra. That's Superb Diamond RA. Obviously, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Superb Diamond Range, and our website is superbdiamondrangepodcast.com. And yeah, hope that our listeners are enjoying it, and please leave feedback. And hopefully, in the next few weeks, we'll do some more guests. Be great to get Arthur Christian and Fiona back on as well at some point, and some new guests as well. So yeah, thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed our podcast.
thank you very much, and wish you all a pleasant, healthy, blessed week. So peace out, everyone.
Peace.